What's up, guys? Welcome to the Real Local People podcast. I'm here today with an entrepreneur that anytime I see someone who's running a business, as an entrepreneur myself and is running a successful business, I'm impressed by. So Distillery64 in New Albany, if you haven't been there, you should go. Brett Schlagel, I got this right before. Yep. I was saying Schlagel, but Brett Schlagel owns Distillery64, him and his wife. And so Brett, how's it going, man?
Going good. Happy to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Of course. Glad to have you. Glad you could do it on such short notice. Yeah. But so tell us a little bit about yourself. How did we get, what got you into distilling? Where are you from? That kind of thing.
So I'm originally from Muncie, Indiana.
Okay.
I was born there, lived most of my life there. When my wife graduated from college, she had a job opportunity down here in Jeffersonville. So we made a decision to make the move, and we've been down here ever since. As far as kind of what got me into distilling, if I was going to open something, I thought I was going to open up a craft brewery. Mm-hmm. I've been brewing beer since I was about 18.
Gotcha.
Had a friend of mine show me how to do it. I wasn't old enough to buy it, but I could buy all the ingredients to make it.
Right, yeah. You didn't drink it, though.
Right, yeah. So I did that for years, and then I got into other things like making mead, making wine. I was making champagne for a little while. Kvass, like if it could be fermented and drank, I was trying to make it. And then I was kind of running out of stuff to make. So I was kind of piquing my interest, But the craft brewery thing kind of hit everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody opened up one. And I was still kind of on the page like, okay, this could still be a really good thing.
Yeah.
And then that bubble kind of burst a little bit. And you started seeing some of these newer people who just opened up, closing their doors just a couple months later.
Yeah.
And
it's just crazy to me. There can't be enough of them, in my opinion. I think those are the best places to go around here. I feel like in places like yours, just nobody wants to go to a chain place anymore. It seems like there's a lot of those types of options now.
I mean, when the wife and I, when we travel, that's where we hit up for dinner. We try to find a local craft place for drinks and food. Mm-hmm. But that bubble kind of burst a little bit, and the market was just really saturated. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of put that idea on the back burner. It was like, well, we'll see what happens down the road, kind of thing. So then I started getting interested in the idea of distilling. Yeah. So I started doing a lot of research on it. YouTube University is really great for those kinds of things. One gentleman in particular, Jesse from the channel Still It. The guy is just a wealth of information, very humble, and he shows you when he makes mistakes and how he fixed it, or if he couldn't fix it. So I spent several years just consuming information. And then I went down to, both my wife and I went down to Colorado to Downslope Distilling, and they do kind of a quick crash course distilling school there. Mm-hmm. So we took that, got some hands-on experience on the distilling side of things, and then got a lot of information from that guy on the business side of things, kind of what to expect and that sort of thing. And so the wife and I kind of made a decision that, well, let's give that a try. From there I started working. I still have my day job, my career job, but I picked up other jobs. At one point, I was working 4 jobs at one time, just 3 other part-time jobs, and doing like the DoorDash thing. And I would just send all those paychecks to a separate bank account and not touch them. I was just trying to bank money.
That's what it takes. I was going to ask you. That's a lot. That's one of the toughest parts about getting into business is the risk involved. And what do you go out and take out a business loan, or do you? It can be risky going down that path. But it sounds like you just did the grind it method, which was just do it all at the same time for a little while.
Yep, absolutely. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Literally, it was at one point. It kind of becomes a sickness. Like you get dedicated to the idea and the dream of having your own place. And I was like donating plasma too on top of it, and it got a little out of hand maybe. But we wanted to open up a craft. Really, we wanted to open up a high-end cocktail bar. That happened to make their own spirits as well. kind of that old school speakeasy vibe.
Yeah.
And then I was looking for some more industry experience. And I sent a bunch of cold emails out to all the distilleries around us. And there was only one gentleman who ever responded. And it was the original owner of Distillery64, Terry Spine. And
I know Terry. I know Terry well. Worked with him at Samtec. So.
Right on. Yeah, Samtec. But he was very kind. Again, a very humble person. He invited me in. We spent some time distilling together. He showed me everything that he was doing and kind of talked me through his experiences and all of the hoops he had to jump through to even get the distillery open.
Yeah.
'Cause in Indiana has its own side of things, and there's the federal side of things, and it's just quite a bit, really.
Yeah, it is.
The government looks at alcohol as a drug, so like our facility is actually a registered FDA manufacturing facility.
Really? Gotcha.
So there's just a lot of red tape to get through. So I was still kind of on the page, like I want to give this a try, and it'd be worth trying to jump through all those hoops to do that. So I continued doing the grind and setting money back. The wife and I kind of talked, and we both came to an agreement, like, starting your own business is risky.
Yeah.
In general, and it's a big leap to take.
Yeah.
And we don't want to put the house on the line for something that may or may not fail. We're down here kind of in bourbon world. There's distilleries all around us. It's not too different than open up a craft brewery in the middle of the craft brewery craze. So we wanted to play it safe a bit. So that's why I was working the jobs. I didn't want to get a bank involved, that kind of thing. And then it was about a year later, after having met Terry, we became pretty good friends kind of over the process and or over the time. And it was Black Friday. He sent me a text. It was like, my work life is kind of picking up a little bit. I don't know that I've got the time for this anymore. Would you be interested in taking over and letting me step away? Yeah. And like, how often does a distillery come up for sale? So,
yeah, exactly.
So it was like an immediately yes, let's figure it out.
Yeah.
So luckily I had the cash set back that he was looking for, and it made it really, it was kind of like turnkey, right?
Yeah.
Like he already had the equipment. He already got through all the red tape.
Was that the location at the time that it still is now?
Yes.
So you basically bought, or I don't know if you own or were renting that place, but you just stepped into a footprint that was already there.
Yep. Nice. Absolutely. Yeah. And, it already had clientele that was supporting the place. And so, we were looking to do exactly what he already had set up.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't even know he existed when we first came up with the thought of the cocktail bar. But
it's funny when you as soon as you said Terry Spine, I was like, I knew. So I remember talking to Terry before he even started all this stuff and was just experimenting with all this, and I knew he had started one, and I didn't know the name was Distillery64. So when you said that, it made the connection there. So Terry, my bad for not knowing that. But
he originally was going to open it in Georgetown on State Road 64.
Gotcha.
And that's where the 64 comes from in the name.
Gotcha.
But some laws changed and whatnot on the Indiana side, and he needed to move to a commercial space instead of an agricultural, like a barn. So all the paperwork was already processed under that name, so the name stuck.
Absolutely. So do you guys do? Do you just make the spirits and sell them there? Do you distribute out to other places as well? Can you buy it at the store? Is it what's the extent of the business, I guess?
So good question. So currently we operate under an artisan distiller's permit, which allows us to be our own distributor up to like 900 gallons a year, something like that or so. So we do or have done a little bit of distributing with some of our local restaurants, like the Exchange in New Albany used to carry some of our stuff. They've recently completely redone their bar and switched bar managers, going a little more commercial there. So we're not there anymore, but Fistful of Ale, they serve some of our stuff. Our Lady of Perpetual Hops, Board and You used to for a little while. So I like the local collab type stuff. But so at the moment, you've got to come to us to buy a bottle. We're not on any liquor store shelves yet.
Okay.
But we also do festivals as well. So Beer, Wine, and Spirit Fest, usually around the central Indiana area.
Okay.
From about February to November, we are out every weekend, sometimes multiple times that weekend. We divide and conquer, do 2 a day.
Yeah.
So you might find us in a random parking lot with some beer vendors slinging our drinks.
Yeah.
But you can find bottles there as well.
Yeah. Are there any long-term goals to get it out and get it to go broader into stores and things?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. That would kind of be the dream. It would be great if it paid my bills one of these days, and I could not do the day jobs anymore. Yeah. So we've looked at some other spaces, and again, there's just risks involved in owning a business, right? Like, do you make the leap on something that the rent seems crazy to you?
Right.
It's 3 times the cost of my mortgage a month just to rent the place,
Yeah.
But I actually have another still that I'm looking at the moment that's saved in my favorites.
Yeah. Ready to pull the trigger.
Yeah. And I'm a nerd for equipment too.
Yeah.
If something new comes out, I'm the kid who wants to go buy it immediately.
I'm the same way. We were talking a little bit before we started here about being a musician, and that's how you can go down that trap real bad in that realm too.
Be a money pit, for sure. Yeah. The idea is to one day expand a little bit and get on some liquor store shelves. Currently, we have a single 55-gallon still. It's technically 70 gallons, but we only fill it 55 to leave enough room for headspace.
Sure.
But that still, when you run a 55-gallon batch of mash or wash, produces about 22 bottles in 8 hours. So we're not pumping big numbers by any means.
Yeah.
So
honestly, sounds bigger than what I would have thought. I was kind of picturing it more. I've done a little bit of beer brewing, and you obviously know that world pretty well too. But yeah, that's such a long process that it just I think it could see it taking a long time. Yeah.
Which
is what got so frustrating with brewing beer for me. I was like, you take like a month to brew a batch of beer, and it's not good. And then you're like, well, what did I do wrong? And then you just got to start over and go another month.
Yeah. I mean, luckily, on the distilling side of things, that was a bit of a surprise to me because I was expecting, for beer brewing, you do like a primary fermentation.
Mm-hmm.
Typically 2 weeks or so is what you're looking at for the primary. So that's kind of what I was expecting. But we use a pretty aggressive yeast strain, and then we try to make that yeast as happy as possible. We make sure that our pH is in a particular range. We use a lot of yeast nutrients to make the yeast good and happy. And so, kind of our operations are on a schedule. So our mash typically ferments dry in 7 days. And we can't run every day on the still, so we have to offset it just because of temperatures.
Yeah.
It takes a while for 55 gallons of boiling water to cool down.
Right, yeah. Makes sense.
So about every other day we can run. So like we'll mash in on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then the next week we're running Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Gotcha. So are your different types of spirits, do you have to wait for keep one thing in that still for a while and then change the whole thing over to do something different, or can you get different types of spirits out of the same mash? Or yes and no. You mean it's not a simple answer?
No.
You can't teach me how to do all this in a 30-minute interview?
So like for our silver rum and our gins, our base is the same. The only difference is when we run the gin, we run botanicals.
Okay.
So about 90% of the botanicals will go into the pot, and about 10% go into a vapor basket at the top to get that kind of final punch of flavor.
Gotcha.
Coming through. So in that aspect, it is a little more simple, and things can kind of run more or less the same between batches. But then we have rye moonshines that we do as well. Technically, they're specialty distilled spirits if the federal government's listening. But that's got grain in it, so the process is a little bit different on that. And if there's one that's going to give us problems, it's anything that's got rye in it. Rye is a very sticky sticky mash, and it clogs pipes, it clogs hoses, drains, and 9 times out of 10 you're wearing it.
Yeah.
I keep an extra set of clothes at the shop just in case. Because a sticky ride home is a lot longer than a normal ride home.
Which it reminded me, by the way, I made the joke of you could teach me how to do this, but you actually do offer classes there, right? I was looking at your website, so that's that seems pretty cool. If anybody's watching right now, this is something you're interested in, look up the website. Google Distillery64 was the easiest finding that for me. So get on there, and you can book a class. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about, I thought the coolest idea, and I'm already kind of thinking about planning a date night with my wife around the speakeasy. That's a really, really cool concept. I saw that you kind of post on your Facebook, you got to have this password to get in. It's just, something a little bit different. But can you tell us a little bit about that? Where'd that idea come from? Is that something that came with it when you got into it, or? Yeah.
So Terry, when he originally made the place, his idea was more of a hobby, right? Mm-hmm. Like he wasn't planning on trying to grow it or anything. He wanted the place to be like if you know, and if you don't, you don't. You got to know somebody that's been there in order to come, kind of thing. And he didn't do the passwords, but like when you show up to our place, you're going to think you're in the wrong place. Right. You're going to think you're there for like a late night colonoscopy or something. That's the coolest
part of it,
But you follow the arrows and it'll bring you back to our door. Yeah. And a desk, and there's a typewriter that's on the desk that has some instructions, and then a telephone. Yeah. You follow the instructions, we'll get you in. But we do post like a password or a passphrase every weekend on our social media. That's the easiest way to get in. Mm-hmm. We do have a camera that's on the outside of our door, and a monitor that's on the inside that everybody else sitting in there can see. Gotcha. So if you come up and you don't have the password, we may ask you to do like the YMCA or the Funky Chicken or something. I like it. And then we'll buzz you in.
And do you do food? Do you do food in there as well as cocktails?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So we do like bar bites kind of things. So like pretzels and beer cheese, charcuterie. We do have a grilled cheese sandwich that's on the menu that's a little more substantial.
Hey, you just sold me on the date, and I think my wife loves charcuterie, so we're good to go.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. Like I said, I love that idea. It's just something different. I think the fact that you said you're going to think you're in the wrong place when you get there, that makes it even cooler because, it's just, like I said, something different. So one thing I was kind of curious about is just as people getting into, I think a lot of people might have, notions or misconceptions about what, number one, being an entrepreneur is, or what being a distillery is, but like, what does just a normal day look like for you?
My day changes day to day for sure.
That's step one for entrepreneur.
So maybe I'm a little bit different, but like, the idea of starting a business is like, oh, I'm going to do this and it's going to be easy and I'm going to make money. Why isn't everybody doing this? And you kind of expect that your everyday is going to be the same, and it's just not. So you got to be able to kind of adapt to circumstances and be open to change and progressing and, being fresh and new, coming up with new ideas and that sort of thing. So myself, as an entrepreneur, I wear many hats. The only other employees that we have are our bartenders that typically man the bar on the weekend, on Fridays and Saturdays. Outside of that, I'm our master distiller. I do all the accounting. I do the plumbing. I do the electrical. I do all of our artwork. I do all of our marketing, and and the list goes on and on.
That's what I was gonna say. That is just step one of being an entrepreneur. You got to wear all those hats until you can get to a point where you can afford to start putting those hats on some other people and stepping away from some of those things. But you just got to do it.
Absolutely. For probably the first year, my wife and I, we were actually bartending as well for a long time. Just taking a weekend here and there, give the bartenders a bit of a break. But something's got to give at some point. And so we hired some more bartenders that pretty much cover that now. So if my wife Julie and I are in there bartending, it's typically because everybody's got vacations going on, or if somebody's sick and nobody can cover kind of thing.
Probably a pretty decent gig for a bartender, for somebody who just wants to maybe do it on the weekends, and because you don't do it all week long, So somebody just wants a Friday, Saturday, make a little extra money.
Yeah,
should work out.
And I mean, that's another part of, it's like the entrepreneur side of thing, is hiring employees, and kind of the trial and error. I thought, I was a good judge of folks and whatnot, doing interviews, and it was really hard to kind of get down to the team that we have now. Sure. Just again through trial and error and experience, and the team that we have now is really fantastic. Everybody's really passionate about the cocktail side of things, and really interested in the liquor portion of it as well. But when we hire folks, we actually kind of prefer if they don't have any bartending experience. Like, they might have a passion for cocktails, but have never served in a bar before. But that gives us an opportunity to train them in the way that we want to train them. How you could talk about these cocktails, and I want that cocktail to be the same for that person every time that they come in. Yeah. And so this is how we're going to do it, kind of thing. And that's really worked out for us really well. And we're not high volume by any means. We're not a nightclub where you're trying to sling drinks as fast as possible. So it's been really nice for our bartenders to get that experience of serving without the stress of just trying to pump drinks out. Yeah, that's really cool. Seems like a really cool atmosphere and everything. I'm curious to get in there for sure. I'll be in there soon. I'm embarrassed that I haven't been in there yet, to be honest, especially since I knew the previous owner too as well, apparently. But so we're getting down pretty close to time. Number one, I want to give you the opportunity. So how can people find out more? We talked a little bit about just Google you. Is there anything else? I guess just stop by. Yeah, stop by. Follow us on social media. I'm not the greatest at social media, just because it's one other thing I got to take care of. But we do try to post on there and throw some interesting things out there. If you check our website, again, I'm not the best at keeping that up to date, but you'll find our events and festivals and stuff. Yeah. Where we're going to be at that weekend. Which, speaking of, we're trying to put one together August the 9th at our place. Okay. It'd be in our back parking lot. I've got about 10 vendors confirmed at the moment, but beer, wine, and spirits, a couple food trucks. We do have a Tesla light show that will be booked. So they'll sync up and do something cool to the music. Nice. And then a silent auction as well. You said August 9th on that? August 9th, cool. Yeah. Nice. Put that on the calendar then. So I think I saw online the speakeasy is Fridays and Saturdays 5 to 11. Is that right? 5 to 11. And then during the week, I guess you're just open for the speakeasy. It's not open, but you can just come in and get bottles or. Yeah, I pretty much live there. Yeah. I should set up a cot in the back. Yeah. But if somebody wants to call and set up a time to come in, generally I'm there all the time, and they can stop by. But yeah, usually I'm in there making liquor like it's going out of style. Yeah, so. Absolutely. Well, Brett, I appreciate you coming in, man. I always give my little spiel here at the end. We do all this to try to get more information out to our community and give everybody kind of a platform to pitch your own business and tell us a little bit about yourself. But we make money by selling real estate. So if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in Southern Indiana or Louisville, give us a call. We'd love to help out. Brett, appreciate you coming in, man. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Yep.